Hello and thanks for tuning in. Some of my viewers have questions about setting up their Ruger 1022 takedown kits. With regard to scope mounting, and we're going to do a little bit of experimenting today just to kind of see what works and what doesn't. Now, one of the questions is, will a scoped receiver fit in this pack? And the answer is no, because there isn't much room here for it. There's no extra room at all. This is the Williams Ace in the Hole set, which has the Williams peep sight on the back and the fire sight front, which is a fiber optic red sight. Now, I do have the aperture removed right here. It still works like this, but with my main scope for this rifle, there wasn't enough clearance, so I had to remove that. And if you've seen my other videos, you've seen this before. This is a Nikon P22 bullet drop compensated 4 power, or actually no, that's a 2 to 7 power variable scope. And we're gonna try that one, shoot it with it on, take it off, see if the zero will hold with it. Okay, for a rest, I'm just going to use this rolled up sleeping pad. Now when I put this on, I got to push forward because the rifle recoils back. And I do my rear mount first, the rear ring first, so it's the same every time. Again, I'm just going for groups. Doesn't matter where they print, just as long as I get a 5-shot group. Alright, take the Nikon off. After firing my 5-shot string with the Nikon P22 scope and the Leupold QRW rings, I removed it. I marked the target for the first group. I reinstalled it, and then I fired another 5-shot group there at 25 yards. And you can see that it did shift 3/4 of an inch to the right. And that's pretty typical for my experiments. It's usually within an inch at 25 yards. And I think that's reasonable for a hunting scope. If you wanted to shoot a squirrel or a rabbit, I think you'd be just fine with that. But I also wanted to see if some of my other throw lever mounts would do any better. So I repeated the same experiment with my arms number 19 throw lever mount. That's part of my ACOG system here. Now understand that I didn't zero these scopes. I'm just looking for groups because that's dedicated to another rifle. I didn't want to screw it up. So this is where it happened to print. And you can see where my first group was, and the second group is basically laid right on top of it. But why is that group size so much larger? Well, if you got a scope with an 1.5-inch rise and you're using it on a 1022 Ruger, you don't have any kind of a cheek weld. You can't lay down on it, and it makes it very difficult to shoot a good group. So unless I would build up my stock, tape some foam on it or something, that would be just about impossible. And to prove that theory, because I thought that's kind of a big group, to prove it, I shot a 5-shot group just with open sights, just with that Williams peep sights set up, and this is what I got. That's less than an inch group. And then I did the same experiment with the Leupold Tactical, the LT104 throw lever mount. This is the best mount that I own. Very happy with it. And the scope is the Trijicon 1-4 by 24 AccuPoint 30mm. That actually is a little bit more scope than you need for a Ruger 1022. I just wanted to see how it would come out, and I did have a dud. I had a bad round that didn't cycle, and it sounded a lot quieter than the other ones. But I have a nice group here, and all the shots ended up right in. That's 9 shots right in there, and they were just laid right on top of one another. And then I repeated it, and the second time I actually had a little bit of a shift, almost the same as the QRW rings. And finally I did it with the scope that I have dedicated to my FN FS2000. That's my Aimpoint Comp ML3 2-minute of angle red dot. And the first time I shot it, look at that. I'm off by a good 1.5 inches there between the first and second group. So I repeated that, and lo and behold, I laid them almost right on top of one another. So what does that tell me? It tells me the system's not 100% reliable, and if you want to have any confidence in your system, you're going to want to experiment a lot and try this several times before you just slap your kit together and call it good. It also tells me that it isn't really necessary to spend $210 on a fancy mount to get it to repeat the zero. You can actually spend $65 like these QRW rings and get almost the same results. Another aspect of the 1022 takedown that you might be concerned with is whether or not it zeroes after removing the barrel and reinstalling it. So I did a series of 5-shot strings at 25 yards doing just that. And what I found out is that as long as your tension is correct, where your barrel locks into the trunnion, you won't have any problems. And increase the tension. The first time I did it, it was just a little bit loose. I backed out the ring a couple of clicks, and after doing that, it was holding very nicely. So that's something I think you can be confident in once you do your experiments and see how to set it up properly. I appreciate you guys tuning in. It's a beautiful winter day, and there's nothing I'd rather be doing. So this is a KGB 65. Thank you very much for watching.